First of all, I did not take the criticism well. I was very embarrassed.
You were like, oh God.
Yes, like I look bad. You can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you.
I don't care if I show up in rags now. You will listen to me because I have all the confidence that I know what I'm telling you is good and right.
It goes back to like knowing what your goals are and being confident in what you want out of this business. So now I'm like, am I fired? Am I fired? I guess I'm fired. Hi, y'all. Welcome to Hustle Humbly. It's Alyssa and Katie, and we are two top producing realtors in the Baton Rouge market.
We work for two different companies where we should be competitors, but we have chosen community over competition.
The goal of our podcast is to encourage you to find your own way in business.
So stop comparing yourself and start embracing your strengths. Hi, Alyssa.
Hey, Katie.
It's episode 146.
Okay.
Confidence and self-doubt.
This was requested.
Yes, I should look that up. It was requested by someone particular. So I looked up the definition. Not that I didn't realize this, but they are the exact opposite of each other as defined.
Right. Self-doubt is the opposite
Exact
of
opposite.
confidence.
Do you want the definition?
Sure.
Sure, why not? Okay, confidence, a feeling of self-assurance arising from one's appreciation of one's own abilities or qualities. Self-doubt, lack of confidence in oneself and one's abilities.
Okay.
Okay. So if you have confidence in your, you know what you're doing, you got to know your abilities.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, this is something new agents in particular would struggle with.
I think that anyone who spends any amount of time comparing themselves to another person will struggle with confidence, right?
Yes.
I'm not like the best. Like everyone, don't you think, struggles?
Everyone has someone that's better than them. So
Right.
if that's what you're focusing on. And when I say better, that's a very relative term.
Extremely.
Let's just say there's always going to be someone that sells more than you do.
Yep.
Or someone that does their business differently.
Different.
And if you're comparing it, you think that your way is not good enough when it's the best way for you.
Right.
And that's why your clients want you.
Well, right, because it's for you and how you do it and how you approach it. It's so funny that you would say that because I wrote a note. We both discovered the same podcast.
We did.
Tell them what it's called.
The Confidence Podcast.
It seemed obvious. I'm like, well, if I need to know about confidence, this is where I've got to go.
Her name was Trish or Trisha?
It was Trish Blackwell.
Trish Blackwell.
And I mean, I listened to episode 490. So
Yeah,
there's
I
a
listened to
lot of
different
episodes.
one than you did.
Great. I'm so glad. But something that she mentioned that you just mentioned also is that overwhelm comes from overthinking. So when you're looking at someone else and you're like, oh, maybe I'm not doing it right, or maybe they're overwhelm comes from overthinking and creates confusion. And then it's hard to have confidence. You cannot have confidence without clarity, and you cannot have confidence when you have mental clutter. Okay. And so being overwhelmed and overthinking what everyone else is doing and what you're doing then creates this mental clutter, and you cannot have confidence with mental clutter.
And the biggest thing in our business, because we're talking about it, it could almost be called a comparison episode.
Yes.
Because a lot of what we do in our business, you're ranked, there's volume ranking, there's production ranking. It's a very in-your-face business as far as advertising goes. And so it's easy to see all these things and compare yourself.
Yeah.
And no matter how good you were feeling about yourself, all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I'm not doing that.
Because there's always someone better.
Yes.
In whatever way we're ranking it, there's always someone who's doing something different, right? But what if they're, I always look at too, and I'm like, we know nothing about their full life.
Yeah.
Are they really happy? Do they have a positive home life? How are their relationships with their kids? How are their relationships with their family and their parents? Like, you don't know a whole person based off of the volume number they post once a month.
And that's why I love our beginning of the year Monday morning meetings in our office. And I've talked about it before, where we get together and we say what our goals are. And what I love about it is that we are so appreciative and supportive of everybody else's goals because we are all in different phases of life.
Right.
There are some office cultures where it's more. That's not good enough. You did this last year. Let's do bigger. Let's do bigger. It's always more. And we have people in our office that say, look, I only need to sell 3 million in production a year because my husband is the main breadwinner of our family and anything I bring in is just extra. And I don't want to work that much because I want to be super involved with my kids or whatever the case may be. But she owns that she only wants to sell maybe 10 houses a year.
Right. But it's really hard to be that person. Your office is an anomaly, and that is amazing that they treat everyone that way. And they're like, tell us your goals. And like, this isn't 10 houses. Yay. But most offices don't give that vibe, right? So, and the industry in general doesn't give that vibe where you're like, oh, because every time, now look, there may be 100 agents in an office and only 2 post their volume every month, right? Yeah. But you see those. You don't see the other 98 agents who are like, 10 houses is enough for me. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so what's in your face, and that feels like it's everywhere because that's what you see and that's what people
and that's what's praised.
Put out. Yes.
Yeah, that's what's glorified.
Yes.
That's what's recognized.
We talk about this a lot in the second episode.
We do.
In the culture.
Yes.
And you know what Lee Brown
go
calls?
all the way back to episode 2.
Way back to number 2 is, I think a lot of people go to the beginning so they've heard to. But Lee Brown would call that realtor prom season, which we've just gotten out of, which is when like they go through all of what everyone did last year.
Yeah.
And then they post it all. I'll tell you, I've never been happier than in my current office where we no longer keep, I have no clue. I would have
like
to go
rankings in your office.
I don't know who sells what, how much. No idea. I would have to go to the MLS and specifically search for the information, which I am no longer doing as a habit because who cares?
Right. It only gets in your head. And I think
cares?
You need to be aware, like if there's a certain page that you follow or person that you follow and you find yourself like, even if they're a good friend of yours, if you see their post and it makes you doubt yourself, mute them for a little while, unfollow them. It's nothing personal against them. It's just better for you to say, I am realizing that I'm trying to accomplish something.
Yeah.
And this is getting in my head and I need to get it out of my head. It's not that you're not wanting to support that person. It's just you have to do what's best for you. And you have to be very self-aware at what's holding you back. Like what is making you feel this way?
What makes you feel bad? Right? The episode I listened to of the Confidence podcast, she said it was so important to track progress, especially when you're in the midst of a setback. You can look and see, well, look how far I've come, right? So I'm tracking my progress. Yes, it doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. Just look at yourself, but you have to track. If you don't track it, then how will you know? If you're like, well, last year I only did 2 sales and this year I've already done 4, but you're feeling bad, but that's twice as many as you did in the whole year.
Yeah, like you're improving.
Right, you're improving. So I think she said what you are going through is setting you up for your next breakthrough. But it's all on what you focus on, right?
Right.
Like how do you want to frame that moment, I guess, in your life?
They were saying that the race horses and like the Kentucky Derby or any other horse races, they wear these blinders.
The blinders.
And the blinders are so they cannot see like the horses on the right or the left like sneaking up on them. They're just focused on
run your race,
getting to the finish line.
Right. Yeah. Run your race.
Right.
Don't run.
If you look to the right or left, it's going to slow you down.
You can't, doesn't change anything.
It changes nothing.
You can only run as fast as you can run.
Right. If you see them, you can't run any faster. You're giving it all you have.
Right. Right.
That's it.
What's the point? Okay. I found an article in Insider that has 8 ways to trick yourself into feeling confident.
Oh.
Do you want to hear them?
Yeah.
So you can basically give yourself some confidence or a little confidence boost when you're feeling not so confident. Okay, number 1, think about when you did feel confident. So just remember a time when you felt confident.
Right.
Number 2, adjust your posture. Now remember, and I don't know what episode is and we've talked about this, the TED Talk from Amy Cuddy from 2012. So you can Google Amy Cuddy, Cuddy, TED Talk. It's worth watching.
Okay.
Because it is the one that teaches you how to make yourself big.
Oh, yeah, we did talk about
and
that.
Power poses. But you can do that in the privacy of your own, like the bathroom before you go into an interview or whatever. But that's adjusting your posture. So making yourself small, crossing your arms, leaning, like hunching over, all of that is negative posture that doesn't give you confidence. You know, How many times have you seen dudes just take up all the space, right? They're just like laid out, their legs are open, their hands are behind their head, feet on the desk. Those are all making yourself bigger, and that's adjusting your posture, or even sitting up straight.
Right.
And making yourself will make you feel more confident. Repeat a positive affirmation, and they gave us an example. You've got this.
Oh, I like that. You've got this.
You've got this. Walking into that listing appointment.
That's easy.
You got this.
Got this.
You got this. Number 4, refuse to negatively talk about yourself. So you cannot indulge yourself in negative talk.
And that's like a bad habit that you would have to break.
Oh, it's so hard to break.
It could take a while to get like the negative voices out of your head, or even with thinking about others. So I just recently volunteered at Haven's Christmas party at her school, and they were taking turns going up to pick a present. So every kid bought a present. Oh, God. And it's wrapped, and they're all in a line at the front of the room. And you can tell that like they all have their eye on one, and they're like, please don't pick that present. Please don't pick that present. But what I thought was interesting was when the wheel, so they did like the name wheel.
Okay.
So when it spins, it lands on whoever's next. And it would be like, Brandon. And they would all go, yay!
Oh, they were excited for Brandon.
And they would be like, yay, Brandon!
But they're like, don't pick my present.
Right, but I was very surprised, like the first name, it's like it's not your name. And they're like, yay! And then it would be, they cheered for everybody, single person. And at the end of the class, like after it was over, I went to the teacher. I said, I have to tell you, I cannot believe these 4- and 5-year-olds who are very like mine. Yeah. Were clapping for each other when it wasn't their turn. Like, I don't always see this behavior at home. And the teacher said, that's like the rule. Right. That's the classroom rule, is that we are always excited and happy for the other people.
Love it.
She said the first time we did this wheel, they're, oh man.
They were like, wait a minute.
And she's like, no, this is not how this goes. But it was so genuine. Like, I think it took practice.
It does take practice.
For them to cheer.
They had done the wheel a lot of times.
The first time, it's like...
Right. Go, Brandon.
Yeah, good job, Brandon. Don't pick my present.
Whatever.
But by the end of the school year, they are genuinely like, they have accepted, it's not my turn.
This is what we do.
It is his turn.
And we're happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, being upset about it isn't going to make it my turn.
No.
But I thought it was a really interesting thing to see.
What a perfect example of training yourself to be happy about something.
Right. Just be positive. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Okay. Number 5, learn how to accept criticism.
It's hard. That's hard for me.
We have episode number 80 is dealing with rejection, which I don't know what we talk about in that one, but that definitely goes over like getting rejected, being criticized. You have to learn how to accept it.
Yeah.
Number 6, practice different breathing patterns. They did not suggest the exact breathing pattern. It just said to be aware of your breathing. A lot of times people say you feel calmer if you take a deep breath, but just practice a different breathing pattern. Okay. 7, wear something that makes you feel good. So don't wear anything that makes you feel like frumpy, uncomfortable.
Yeah, if you don't like the shirt, just get rid of it.
Just get rid of it. And number 8, let yourself have a bad day sometimes. So just like let the bad thought happen, but pass it, like just let it go. So do it and move on. Okay, those were your 8 ways to trick yourself into having more confidence.
That was helpful.
Very. Okay, how do you feel like you do as far as confidence? What gives you confidence when you're working with clients?
I can remember being new and totally faking it.
Yeah.
And I was okay with it. Like, I didn't struggle too much with faking it.
Right.
Like, I just knew this is what I have to do. Like, I'm new. I don't have numbers. It's funny because I say, looking back, I would do it differently, but I don't think I would. I tried a few different things. I one time had Adorna Carroll, who is a nationally recognized speaker and CE teacher, and she's very blunt if you know her. And I took one of her classes, and I went up to her at the end and said, I'm new, I'm young, I look younger than I am, I'm having trouble. And she called me out and was like, I think in your situation, you may have to dress better. And like I was wearing jeans to the CE class. I wasn't like
Mm-hmm.
spruced up. Whereas a lot of the people in the class were in their like 50s and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And they just dress different. Like they wear slacks and they wear like.
Right.
And so after that, first of all, I did not take the criticism well. I was very embarrassed.
You were like, oh God.
Yes, like I look bad. But I joke with her. I've seen her since that class and we joke about it. And
were you like, look, I'm back in the jeans?
Right, I'm back in my jeans. I made it to where I feel comfortable in my jeans.
Right.
But for a while there, I thought she does have a point in some like maybe I need to step it up in other areas.
Dude, I put on slacks every day of my early career.
Yes,
when I would go into my office, I wore from the Limited. I went to the Limited. Oh, I love it.
Oh,
Wait, I went to the Limited
Express.
and I got all the slacks and I would wear the button down. I mean, I didn't put on a blazer or necessarily pumps, but maybe, you know, like nice shoes.
Yeah.
Right?
Same.
Until because that's just dressing for the job you want, maybe.
Yes.
And then once I got enough confidence to know, I know the information. I don't care if I show up in rags now.
Mm-hmm.
You will listen to me because I have all the confidence that I know what I'm telling you is good and right?
Yeah.
But I learned that over 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning, I kind of needed you to look at me and be like, well, you look like you know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Right?
I even, before I was like engaged or married, when I did open houses and things, I would wear like a fake wedding band.
You did?
Because I wanted them to be like, well, because I looked so
Like,
young.
she's old enough to be
She's
married.
old enough to be married. So I guess.
Alyssa, that's hilarious.
Like, that's a true story. Like I had like a fake one that I just wore on my ring finger.
Were you dating them?
Not at first.
That's so funny.
Yeah. And then, you know, I was dating Tanner
Oh
like
my
a year in. And so it was kind of weird. But
Did he know you would do that?
I don't know. I don't know if he ever pointed it out or
That's
said anything.
so funny.
But I just felt like it at least took the edge off of like, she's got to at least be old enough to be married. So.
I think that's really kind of genius, though.
Like, don't ask me how old I am. Just look at my finger
I'm
and
married.
be like, yeah, I'm married. So
You felt like that made you more legit.
it made me a grown up.
That's so great. Oh my God. I love
The
it.
things I did in the beginning, I was shameless. Like, I was like, well, if someone told me to do this, okay, I'll just do it. And in some ways, I feel like I got less confident the more successful I got.
Really?
Isn't that weird?
Because all of your confidence was faked?
I don't know. I almost felt like,
You realized you knew nothing?
no, I think it was more of like a pressure thing.
Oh.
Like the more successful I got, the more, like when I was new, I didn't really care that much about comparison because
Okay.
I was new. Whereas like as I got more successful, I started being compared. Like others were comparing me, or I would see the comparison in the numbers and I was like, oh man, now I'm like ranked, or what if I don't have as good of a year as I did last year?
Right. Let's put this in context, especially if you're a new listener. Alyssa was like a rookie of the year. What year? How far were you into it when you were 30 under 30?
Like year 6.
Okay, so even in year 6, she's ranked in the top 30 realtors in Realtor Magazine in the whole United States. Like, you're at a different level and place, whereas a lot of us you grow a little slowly. You had some early on success.
Yeah.
Which then obviously drove you to what you're telling us now.
Right,
which
right.
is, what if I fall from grace?
Well, also I feel like I started getting other people's opinions put on me. I had like friends of mine who were realtors that would come and say, I mean, to do this much volume, you really need a team. How do you not have a team? And
Right.
it's like it bothered them.
Yeah.
But it got in my head a little bit.
Yeah.
And they would say things like, I mean, you can't be doing mom life well at this volume if you don't have a team. And I thought, but then I would sit back and go, no,
I'm fine.
I feel good. Like,
yeah.
but that's the thing. I had to remove myself from people that were putting negative things in my
Yeah.
head. I heard a really good quote yesterday.
Ooh, what is it?
You can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you.
I did read that you posted that.
I loved it.
I read it like
"That's
3
so
times.
good."
Like, it's true.
Yeah. I mean,
like-
if there is someone that is a negative influence on your thinking or
Yeah.
on yourself, or pushes you in a direction that you don't agree with. Like,
Right.
I don't want a team. It's not in my agenda. I needed to just distance myself from that kind of message because it was messing with me and making me think. But I had to get to a place where I said, no, it goes back to like knowing what your goals are and being confident in what you want out of this business.
Oh, it's funny that you say goals. That is one of the, I found another article with tips to building self-confidence. So
not if it's mine.
Do you have one?
I don't know.
Are there 5 tips?
No, I have 10.
Okay, well, I'll just tell you
how to build your confidence.
Great, let's do them now.
Okay.
I'm going to do these quick 5 because what you just said, one of these is set some goals.
Yeah.
So tips to building your self-confidence, not faking it. Now, I've told you how to fake it or just try and like think yourself into it. Now we're going to build it. Set goals, talk yourself up, get a hobby. So something you're passionate about that maybe if you're passionate about something, you like it and you want to do it, you'll typically have more success because you'll develop the skills sooner, right? Because you're like, well, I want to go fishing more or whatever it is. So get a hobby. Think of things you're good at. Everyone has strengths and talents. And then look at what you've already achieved. So those are some tips to build it. So like review what you've already done. Hey, Alyssa.
Hey, Katie.
What do we mention almost every episode?
Email templates.
You're right. We sure do. And after every time we mention an email template, do you know what we get?
Emails asking if they can have copies of the email template.
Can you send me a copy of that template? I have never had one like that. That sounds great. And you know what the good news is?
What?
You can get all of our email templates from our course, Email Templates 101. Tell the people about it.
Our course has all of the email templates you would need to send to your buyers and your sellers and your clients that are buying and selling at the same time.
Exactly.
To get through every step of the transaction and giving them information that they need for where they are in the transaction.
It's great because you never forget to tell them something.
Yes, and we've already done all the work for you.
Yeah.
We wrote them and you can personalize them.
Yes.
And just feel organized knowing that you have all the information where it needs to be.
And if you purchase Email Templates 101, you do get lifetime access. So occasionally we like to go in and make updates based on the market or if we find a new best practice and we put that right into the template and you get that updated straight away.
It just goes straight to your course?
Yep. Right, it's just there. It's already in there.
It's just
already in there. You don't even have to worry about it. We'll send you an email and we'll say updated.
That's great. Where can they find these email templates?
You can find the email templates at emailtemplates101.com.
Emailtemplates101.com.
Yes, head over for reviews and all of the specifics.
Wonderful.
Okay, enjoy.
Yeah, so here's some that were mentioned in the article I read from Indeed on how if you have no confidence and you're struggling, things that you can do. 1, attend training. Look at your board classes. Are you feeling like I really want to work with buyers, but I don't have the confidence? Get your ABR designation. Go to the classes.
Right.
Under 2, learn new skills. You could do this from asking an agent in your office, can I sit with you while you write a repair request?
Yeah.
Like tell me what you do when you write the repair request. Number 3, dress for success.
Love it.
And that doesn't have to be a suit.
No.
It can be whatever you are comfortable in. It could be washing your hair when you don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Honestly, some days, like when you actually do it, I'm like, I really feel a lot better. Leave your comfort zone. And that can be doing open houses before you feel like you're really ready. Getting on phone duty. Asking agents in your office, hey, if you ever get a sign call that you don't want to work. So there was an agent that I had a listing in a certain subdivision and they texted and said, hey, I live in that subdivision. If you ever get a sign call that you can't work, I would be happy to take it and pay you a referral fee.
Okay.
I thought that was super bold.
Were they in your office?
No.
Wow, that is bold.
I thought it was really bold. I don't know that I would really do it, but at the same time, I would probably refer it to someone in my office just to support my people. But I thought it is good to know she lives in that subdivision.
Yeah.
And if I'm in a bind,
right,
I could pay her to do something.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
Interesting.
So while it kind of made me go, then I was like, well, good for her.
Yeah, good for her.
Good hustle.
Great hustle. Good job. Good hustle.
Emulate your peers. So if someone is doing something that you want to do, it's hard because this is a fine line of comparison. And maybe not picking one person necessarily, but I really like how this person shows up to the meetings. I really like how this person does their social media. I really like how this person you have really good models in front of you. You don't have to spend all this time reinventing the wheel. Like a lot of it, if you see someone that is inspiring to you, maybe change your mindset of, instead of feeling threatened by this person, I'm going to kind of use them as my example.
Right.
Focus on your strengths, learn from your mistakes, eliminate negative language, and the last one was ask questions.
Oh, I love that.
Okay, I have a good example.
Let's hear it.
We always say, like, if you're wondering something and it's like eating you, like, oh my gosh, are they mad or this or that? Like, just ask the question.
Yeah, I had written down, be curious. Curiosity helps you grow. So tell me this story.
So you were actually with me last week. I had a client, a sweet older lady who her house had been on the market for over a year in this crazy market.
I didn't hear the end of this story.
No,
so
you haven't heard the end. I know. You just saw the fall apart.
All right, so let's hear it.
Her house had been on the market for over a year. The pictures were awful.
Right.
Awful. So she calls me. She gets referred to me by another agent. And I go interview and I tell her, like, I see so much room for improvement. I really feel confident that we could, like, get this done if you're willing to make the changes.
Okay.
So the house was brown. We painted it white. I told her what color. I got my painter over there. She calls me and she's like, I don't know. I don't know that it looks good. Can you come over? Like, now. And I'm like, I cannot come today. I can come after 4 o'clock. No, I'm leaving at 1. I said, well, I'm so sorry. Just leave the key. Because she's left the key for me before, because she does not live in town. She had just come in town to do something. I said, just leave the key for me. I will go walk through and call you when I'm there. And then she just, like, stopped responding. And she said, and then I said, listen, just let me know where the key will be. And then she said, forget about it. I'm not leaving the key. And so I immediately picked up the phone and I called her and she didn't answer. And I said, please call me back. She never did.
Ever.
So this was on a Friday, and I'm like, why isn't – I have been in contact with this lady for so long. I've never really seen this side of her being this upset.
Yeah.
So then I was freaking out, and I'm like – so I texted her one more time. I said, do you mind sending me some photos? No response. So I texted my painter, because now I'm panicking, like –
is it really bad?
Does it look bad? Have I just painted her whole house the wrong color? You know?
Right.
So I texted my painter, asked him for photos. He sent them to me. It looked amazing.
I looked at it. It looked great.
Oh my gosh, this is so much better.
Looked great.
So I texted her one more time and I said, hey, I just want to let you know the painter sent me these photos.
Yeah.
And I think it looks so good.
Right.
I know it's a lot different than what it was.
Right.
But I would love to walk through. Let me know when you plan to come back in town. I would be happy to meet you.
Okay.
No response.
Okay.
Didn't hear from her Saturday.
Okay.
Didn't hear from her Sunday. Monday morning at 8:30, after I dropped the kids off, I sent her a text and I said, hey, I have a very slow day today. I will be in my office all day. I would love to talk to you and get a plan together. No response. So it's starting to eat at me. I've never really had someone do this.
She's ghosting you.
She's totally ghosting me. So now I'm like, am I fired? I guess I'm fired. Like, I don't know. Is she choosing someone else? I know she interviewed another agent.
Right.
I mean, I have been working with her for a month on getting her house ready once she told me she chose me.
Yeah.
So so finally I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna ask her. So I texted her and said, should I consider myself fired? That's what I asked.
What did she say?
And then my phone rang.
Then she called?
Then she called. And she said, no. She said, I needed some time.
She didn't sound like she had enough time.
No. She said, I was very upset that you could not meet with me that day. And I said, I'm so sorry. I said, the last Friday of the month is the craziest. I said, here we are, the first Monday of the month, and I have all the time in the world. I could not meet you on such short notice.
Right.
And she said, I know, this has just been very stressful. I said, I understand. And we talked for like 30 minutes on the phone, and we are at a good place. And she got her friend to bring a key, and I walked through and I told her it looked amazing and everything's going to be fine. Were amazing. Right. And we're at a good place. But it took me, like, I was eating myself up inside, wondering. So sometimes we get a client when we're like, are they mad at me? Are they disappointed?
Just ask.
Just find a professional way to ask. I couldn't really think of anything better to say than,
am I fired?
Should I consider myself fired?
That's so funny.
And I thought, I really don't have anything to lose at this point.
You thought you were fired.
I thought I was fired. But I just needed to know, because if you want me to leave you alone, I certainly will.
I'm
but
not trying to harass
fire
you.
me so that I know I'm not your agent anymore. Because if you're my client, I'm going to call you. But so many times I think we wonder, like, did I do a good job? Like, if you went on a listing interview and you didn't get it, I always ask, is there anything I could have done better?
Yes.
Would you mind giving me feedback? I would
do
love
the same
to know.
thing. Or if you meet with a buyer and they end up using another agent to buy a house and you find out, like, is there something I could have done better next time?
Yes.
Right. But you have to have the confidence to ask.
Right.
That's hard.
If there is something that is bothering you,
I know.
You just need to spit it out and move past it. Because the longer it stays on the inside, I mean, I had like a weekend of wondering,
I know.
which is too long.
She really let you stew on that.
I know. I just kept thinking, like, is that, but then I kept thinking, like, is that really what this is about?
That's what I was about to say. Because you know what I say when I'm thinking about doing things and my kids are involved and I'm like worried about getting dressed or, you know, how I'm like, it's not about me.
Right.
It wasn't about you either. She was very emotionally attached to that house. She literally didn't like it repainted.
Right.
She just didn't like it.
It's not what she picked.
She's
when she
already
built
moved
it.
away, but she still feels like it's her house, right? And so when she looked, and also when you paint a house and it changes the way it looks, it does change that house in your mind.
Yeah.
So like she was probably having, because I know you told me her, you know, husband had passed away. She was probably having some real serious emotions about this isn't my house anymore. Now I can't picture it. Like my memories are you know what I mean? Like
this is real.
She was taking it to, she doesn't even live there anymore.
Right.
But it was taking her to a place that made her very unhappy, and it had nothing to do with you.
Yeah. And I think just asking anytime you're wondering, if a buyer has ghosted you, I get to the point where I'm like, hey, I know I've called and texted a few times. If you no longer need help, feel free to just let me know and I'd be happy to take you off my list.
Right. I don't want to bother you.
That's how I clean out my database. I send that text over and over and over.
Because they're also wasting your time.
Right.
Like if you don't want to work with me, let's move on.
Hand me a sticky note.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Forgot my book today where I write my notes.
Right, your book is way over there. Okay. The last little note I had about ways to build self-confidence from an entrepreneur.com article was, don't always rely on your memory for accurate info. And I took this in my mind to two places. What they meant was, when you look back on a situation, you might look back on it and think, oh, I did this wrong, this was a problem, and then focus on all the negatives. Whereas you don't look back on the situation and remember, okay, well, this is where my strengths were. This is what I did well. I also looked at it as literal info. Like, you cannot depend on yourself to know the exact accurate info. So this leads me into, what can you do before an appointment so that you are more prepared? When you are more prepared, then you feel more confident because they will ask you questions and you will say, I know.
Right.
I know the answer. I know the age of the roof. Like if you're going on a showing, and especially if it's only one house, read the property disclosure.
Really, same for open house.
Yes. Know what the flood zone is. Find out what the taxes are. Like you can learn a lot of information about any house as any human. Like you don't even need to be an agent. Certainly don't have to be the listing agent. And you can have information so that you can answer those questions. And that's how you can feel confident. I think if you have the right info, and also if you know where to get the right info. So if someone says, they ask you, just like when you had your open house story, and someone asks you the question and then you're like, I don't know, but I'll find out. And then you're like, next time you know that. And then they ask a different one. You're like, I don't know, but I'll find out.
By open house number 4 and 5, I was solid.
You were like,
there was nothing you could ask me that I didn't know.
Because it's also not rocket science. People only ask a limited number of questions about houses, right? How old's the AC? How old is the roof? Do you know the school, like whatever it is, like there are a finite number of questions someone is going to ask you about a house. It's very rare for someone to ask me, especially this far into my career, a question I've never heard before. Do you know what I mean? Like there are just so many things you can know about a house. The other thing that I do as far as preparation and that helps me feel confident, and I have done since the beginning, is I like to bring my folder, right? Yeah. My buyer folder or my seller folder. It has all kinds of valuable information for them. I'm holding it in my hand. So it's like handing you an item of value, right? I've walked up with my folder. You walk up with your computer, so you look pretty serious. I feel like I look like I know what I'm doing, right?
Sure. You have something in your hand. You're not fidgeting. What do I do with my hand? I'm not fiddling with my
phone. Y'all, you cannot rely on just walking into an appointment with your phone only. You're going to look like you're doing something else.
Yes.
They're not going to know what you're doing on your phone. So I walk in with the folder. Not only it helps me, I have info. I'm giving that to them. Here you go. And it reminds me everything I need to say to them.
Right.
Here's all the information. It's right here. That is huge, huge for me. And that makes you feel so prepared.
I also think for the newer agents out there, doing phone duty, doing open houses, or asking other agents like, hey, if you get a voicemail from a sign call, I'd love to be the one to call them back if you don't want it. Because practicing on cold leads is so helpful.
So helpful.
Because the first couple calls are going to be so bad. You're going to be like,
train wreck.
You're going to be like, yes. Are you working with an agent?
You're not going to even say that. Don't lie to yourself.
No, you probably will because you've been trained, but you're going to say it so stiffly and they're going to feel your discomfort. But by the 6th or 7th call, it just starts flowing. Even when we started this podcast.
Right.
Do you remember when we had to record our introduction to send to Apple, how nervous we were and how many times we did it?
So many times.
And we hardly even edit anything now. We just jump on and do it. And like I used to cringe. If you want to do videos for your business or be on social media, like the first couple times that I heard my voice, I felt so uncomfortable. Yeah. And now when I hear it, I don't even flinch because I'm just so used to it.
That's me.
But that's the thing is it does take some practice. And if you can practice at open houses or with people that aren't like your friends at first, like it's okay if even your friends and family don't use you your first year. I had so many friends and family that did not use me my first year of real estate.
Yeah.
Because they thought I just wasn't ready. And looking back, I probably wasn't. It was probably better that I got some transactions under my belt with people that did not know me. And then it's like around year 6 and 7, the people that didn't use me were calling me to use me at that point. So because I proved myself.
Yeah.
So it does take time, but there are things you can do to expedite the process.
I want to talk about making decisions.
Okay.
Because that's where a lot of times people feel a lack of confidence, right? You don't know about the right way. This is what Gary Vee says.
Okay.
He's like, let's say you're choosing between going to college or starting your business. This is just for an example. And then you're really worried, you don't know what to do, and you're overthinking it. You're never going to know the outcome if you had gone the other way because you made a decision, right? So let's say you started the business and the business failed and you're like, oh no, this is terrible. This is what he would say. Well, maybe if you had gone to college and you attended some football game, you might have gotten hit by a drunk driver and died. Do you follow what I'm saying? You literally have no idea what the other outcome would have been.
Like you have to just trust your decision.
You're just make what, and that could be small decisions within like a work. Like you have to trust in your decision. And I think a lot of people get very caught up and paralyzed with like, well, what's the right thing to do for my client? Do we lower the price? What price do we, all those, there's so many decisions you make as an agent and your client is looking to you with big eyes and wanting you to tell them what to do. And if you can't be confident in making decisions within this business, you're not going to give your client any confidence. And the only way to be confident in decisions like that is to have data, learn, like improve your skills, but know that once you make it, you've made it.
I do have a tip for that for when you are talking with sellers.
Okay.
We have a few new agents in our office, so I've been hearing this a lot, that when they're talking to sellers, they tend to say, well, in my opinion, I think, and then I think your house needs this. No. And it is never about what you think. You need to start saying things like, according to the data of your subdivision, according to the numbers, because even in this crazy market where prices are way higher than I feel comfortable with, and I don't have data to support them, I'm having to tell my sellers, listen, Mr. Seller, I am not giving you what I think your house is worth.
Right.
I am using the same data that an appraiser is going to use based on these numbers.
Right.
It says that your exact floor plan just sold for this.
Right.
So I cannot promise you any more than that. And I also, it is my job to prepare you that if you want to start 30,000 higher than that number, we may get it, but will it appraise? I do not know.
Right.
I am only here to present the facts. Never do I say, I think your house needs to be painted. I say the market tends to reject the houses that are very dark.
The market says.
The market says, not Alyssa Jenkins,
Yes.
the market. Not Alyssa Jenkins, the data.
Right.
Like
Right.
putting it off
You're a
of
vessel.
you. Yes. I'm just here to give you the truth.
Here you go.
Can you handle the truth? Because that's why I'm here.
I'm a glorified message sender. Like
Yeah.
this is it. This is what the market said. I say stuff like that too. I also say the market will tell us if you've overpriced your home. Nobody comes.
Right.
It's overpriced.
It's not me not doing a good job with the marketing. It's that the price or the photos or something about your house that you didn't do is not right.
It's not right. It's not right. Okay. So I think you can develop making those types of decisions into a skill.
Yes.
Just have to practice.
It does.
Just like I think confidence is all about that practice.
One of our new agents just said, I cannot watch any more webinars or videos. Like I'm burnt out of classes and training.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like I need to start
Do
doing.
it. Yeah.
I'm like, you do. You have to just say, I'm going to hold this house open. I'm going to start finding a way to talk to people.
Or if you still don't feel comfortable and confident in getting out there and doing it, then it's time to start shadowing someone. Like see another human do it in person where they could like pass you the ball. You take them through the house. You know what I mean? Like if you're really that having that much self-doubt and still like maybe you want to quit before you even start.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Then shadow someone. Go to the open house, see them do it. You'll realize it's not that scary. But watching a webinar, it still feels kind of abstract, right?
You get some good notes and training is good, but at some point you have to start taking action.
You just got to do it for sure. I have another thing I want to say about confidence, and especially if you're newer or younger or youthful. I remember reading all this stuff when I was in my 20s and then my 30s, and now I'm in my 40s. It's true. With time and age, you just literally don't care anymore. Like you're like, and I've always been a relatively confident adult, even when I was in my 20s, but at some point you're just like, it's okay. I've lived through so much, and so many times people have rejected me, and so many times, I've gotten criticism.
You get tougher.
You're just like, okay, I didn't die. Like, I'm still here.
Yeah.
So I just like, you will, if you're young and like, it's going to get better over time. Just learn. The more you know, then the more comfortable you will feel. But I just think it's so funny because I used to read those things and be like, that's so stupid.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh, it's actually true.
It's so true. It's just so true. It's so you're like, I don't care, whatever.
I know I've shared this story before, but when I one time had a deal that just totally went south and fell through.
Okay.
It was in like year 3 or 4.
Buyer or seller?
3. It was a seller. And so I had to like continue working with this seller who was very angry about the whole situation. Anyway, I came home and Tanner's like, what's the matter with you? And I just told him, I'm like, this is what happened. And he goes, you're not crying.
Oh, you
and I went, I'm getting stronger.
I can do this. I can do this.
Like in the beginning, the littlest thing was just so devastating.
It just derails
and here's
everything.
The thing. I took everything so personal.
Yep.
They didn't use me because they don't like me. No, they didn't use me because I was new and I didn't tell them that when you go to a DSLD model home, tell them you have a realtor.
Right.
And they went by themselves and they didn't because I didn't coach my clients and I lost them.
Yeah.
And I was devastated.
It's not about you.
Right. Now, if the same thing happened, I would be like, did I tell them the rules?
Right.
Did I go over the process?
You held yourself accountable.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, they don't like
it's their fault.
Yeah.
I know. It's hard and it's a struggle, but it will get better over time. Like if your friends don't use you, just like you said earlier, if your friends don't use you in the beginning, as they see you get better, they will come back around. So you can't, and if you burned a bridge with a friend in the beginning of your career because they didn't use you, that is the worst mistake you could make.
I almost did that once.
It's the worst mistake you can make.
I got so upset.
You were like, how could you do this to me, Mom?
I will say, that same person called me years later to sell the home that they had bought without me after I had showed them homes, and then they used somebody else. It's fine. And they were like, and they asked, and I said, listen, I have to be honest with you, and I don't mean to like bring up old stuff, but when I was new, I was so new then. Yeah. And it was a big deal to me. And I am a little embarrassed. Oh, YouTube is gone.
That's all right.
Okay.
They'll just
YouTube.
I know. That's we've talked for too long.
But I told her, I said, I appreciate you reaching out to me, but I don't want you to do it because you feel like you have to. Right. I know that I was really upset when I was brand new, and I'm sorry if, you know, I was maybe overreacted or
I made it uncomfortable.
I made it uncomfortable for you. I would be honored to represent you now. I am at a different place in my business. I have learned so much and I've come a long way. And I just hope that you aren't doing it because you feel like we won't be friends.
Have to.
Like you have to.
Right.
And she was like, I really appreciate you like saying that and clearing the air, because I have always felt bad about how we treated you during that time. And we would love nothing more for you than to sell this house.
I love it.
Like work with you. And so
what a great way to handle that.
God, for 8 years I have felt self-conscious around this friend because
they lived in the house for 8 years. They didn't.
That situation.
You didn't need to talk about it until 8 years later.
We didn't get to really hash it out.
But it was probably better that it took that long.
Yeah, it was a sad 8 years, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But it felt so good to just clear the air.
You're right.
But I'm telling you that is one thing I would have changed if I could have.
Yeah.
Is that in that moment, I was so new, and I just knew that they were like my only for sure client.
And then they didn't use
And then they didn't. And I was like, it just took my breath away.
Yeah,
and I should have handled my thoughts in private and just dealt with it. Instead, I did say, I wasn't like out the box, but I let them know I was hurt. Yeah. I was just like, I thought that we were going to work together and, you know, and it's okay to defend yourself, but ask yourself, is it worth the friendship or burning the bridge? In the beginning, there's a lot of disappointment.
Yeah, there is a lot of disappointment in the beginning. You just have to like get through it.
Yeah.
Are you ready for a toast?
Sure.
Are you feeling confident? Do you need to make yourself big?
I think this was good.
Okay, take a deep breath and make yourself big.
YouTube cannot say stretching.
You got this. I know. Sorry, YouTube. Okay. So this toast comes to us from Crystal Mendiola in NOLA.
Oh, in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Yep. That's right. She says, I would love to request a shout out. I have a group of friends. We are newer agents.
Oh, yay.
Perfect. We call ourselves boss ladies.
Oh, well, they're not lacking confidence.
Not at all. Desiree McSwain, Chantel Ledoux, Nina Scriber, and Brennan Schomburg. We love your podcast and even signed up for agent systems and the email templates.
Yay.
Thank you so much. They're so helpful. She says, I love my boss ladies. We help push each other up because, you know, the start could be so discouraging.
This is the perfect toast.
I know, right?
Perfect.
Also, go to each other for help or to vent. I just appreciate having good friends in the industry. And then she says, if this is too many people to shout out, I totally understand.
We will shout them all.
We got them all. Desiree, Chantel, Nina, Brennan, and thank you to Crystal
for toasting them.
Cheers to y'all. That's
confident
amazing.
Boss ladies.
Boss ladies.
Perfect.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Hustle Humbly podcast. Let us know who we should toast to for the next episode.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Hustle Humbly Podcast. If you have an episode, topic, or question, please email us at hustlehumblypodcast@gmail.com.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. See you next week. Bye.
This is the good life.
Job. But you said it like under your breath.
Right, like
I'm like, do you mean it?
Like on Moana.
Wait,
when
Jay,
they're
I'm
like,
gonna scoot a little. Is it okay?
That part in Moana when she's talking to Matt when that. You're so amazing.
I love Moana. I wish my kids would watch it more.
Oh, we watched it like 1,300 times.
I mean, we've watched it a few, but mostly at my urging, not at theirs.
They're growing out of it.
They're a little too old.
Yeah, I know. Such a good movie. You know what movie we watched last night and we laughed and laughed?
What was it?
Enchanted.
Oh yeah, that one's so good. I love that one. Have you watched the follow-up ones? No. Is Enchanted the one with the real life? I tried to make them all watch it the other day,
it's
and not
so
a person in my family
funny.
would buy into it. They made it into about 20
Hayden was
minutes.
like, Mom, can you pretend to be like her?
You're like, sure.
So when I put her to bed
I
last
am like
night,
her.
I was like, I hope you have magical dreams.
And she was like, thanks, Mommy.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted in my life is for you to be a princess.
Yeah,
Just act more
wants me
like
to,
a princess.
Do that, like speak that way. Like, eat your breakfast, get big and strong. I'm like, what?
Okay, great. I love it. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes. Oh, your cup. Jay's not gonna like that.
Shay, my cup's making noise. There's like big ice in there. Big ice energy. Okay.